Hello, hello, hello. Jason Rice, another Lot Party quick tip. I'm playing around here on the other screen and making sure we're going live. Hey, I always check to see if my mic isn't muted or not. I am excited, man. You know, we got a lot of things going on here at Lot Pop, but I want to talk about what we've got going on at the. Hey, what's up, Jake and John, Brad? What's up, bud? All right, so man, we're getting so much feedback from dealers that with all this auction stuff, I see it on our used car group, I see used car managed group, I see it in our calls and with our reps that dealers, just trying to figure out this whole auction thing and values and when to pull the trigger, when to buy, how much to stock, what not to stock, and and I should have looked it up to give the guy credit or person credit. Not sure if it's a guy or a gal, but I believe, looking at one of the posts on that used car management group is, somebody mentioned the fact that auctions are getting tough and it's just a big competition between like the Carvanas. There's Vroom now that's out there and the CarMax, and you got throwing AutoNation in there and these big dealer groups. Everybody, they're out there just gobbling these things up. And you got to think about it, especially a company like Vroom just went public yesterday. And then you've got Carvanas and stuff. These guys, it's okay to take a loss right now. They're expected to take a loss. It's a new company out there. They've got all this money from investors backing this stuff up. That they just want to see volume right now and see if it's a tangible business and that it's going to work or not. And they're willing to take some of these hits. Some of these losses are write-offs for these guys. So lives. So the Everhart, man. You got to get these companies. They're not going away. I mean, how can a Vroom? Everybody's talking about how Carvana's not going to last, and to me, we've seen their stock plummet. During the beginning of this whole COVID thing, but all automotive stock tanked and then shot right back up. And then how can a Vroom become an IPO if this is a model that's not going to work? And as dealers who got better, I spoke to one of our better dealers earlier this week, and his whole business model's changed. They like it. They're able to hold gross of taking. They're dealing with more committed customers. They're delivering them to their house. And I was always of the mindset when I was selling cars off the internet, and I'm talking 1998. Early 2000s, I full transparency. You couldn't tell me I couldn't sell a car off the phone or off the internet. I did it all the time. So dealers are just realizing that this is a model. It's forcing your hand, which is a good thing. Okay, at first, you could brush off the whole Carvana and their process. And maybe they survive, maybe they don't. I think this whole COVID thing forced customers to get more comfortable with having things delivered to their house and this whole no-touch process. So dealers, you need to figure that out. And that's not one of the two things that you need to figure out. When we're talking about the auction, is these big companies, Vroom, Carvanas, obviously the AutoNations and stuff, they're not going away. They're going to keep driving up these wholesale values because they need inventory. Two things you need to figure out is F&I, how to hold an F&I, right? You need to be able to get that back-end stuff going. So make sure your F&I is running smoothly. You need to make money on the trade and on F&I. And so you need to nip it in the bud a bit with the trade-ins. If you could be an acquisition center, if you can offer to buy people's cars. I know some dealers have sent customers to CarMax to get a bid, and then they tell the customers to go there, get a bid, and we'll match it or beat it. Why? I know that's a normal business model for some dealers that are in those markets, especially on a new car, because Carvana can't sell them a new car, right? So they send them over there, get a bid. But you don't have to do that nowadays. And you should be, not the Carvana, the CarMaxes. Did I say Carvana? My bad. But you should be that person in that market. You should be the one they know are buying cars. So you need to get your appraisal process buying down, meaning the other part of buying is obviously all the data mining, service customers, data mining obviously being your repeat or previous customers. You need to get that down before you complain about the auction. You know, most of the dealers here, I have a vAuto background. Most of the dealers here, I could tell you, didn't finalize all their appraisals in the system, didn't get all their appraisals into the system, didn't assign them to the sales rep dealing with the deal, didn't go back in to the appraisal if they bumped the appraisal, and go back in and update their appraisal on the true number that they put on the car. A lot of dealers, I would tell you, and any vAuto person out there that's on this or listening to me, tell me if I'm wrong, but I guarantee you, maybe it's better now, but 75% of the dealers aren't doing all that accurately. Probably only 25% of you dealers out there that are accurately doing the appraisal process and reevaluating it consistently. And I bring that up again. I always told my dealers, and I continue to tell them, don't complain to me about the auction until you get your home right? You know, don't throw, people living in glass houses shouldn't throw rocks or whatever. You need to make sure this is right before you complain about what's going on at the auction, because hopefully you're not going there. So, 2, Anderson, don't freeze them about, so get that right, get F&I right. You need to get those 2 things right, because that's where you're going to make your money up. You're going to start learning that it's okay sometimes, especially these rental rocket cars, buy it, make a few bucks, sell it, do it again. Buy it, make a few bucks, get a trade in F&I, do it again. And the good thing about these late model cars, they're going to be higher dollars. You know, a late model Malibu or a late model Altima is going to, or whatever, F-150, they're going to be a little bit higher dollar. You're going to get finance on those more likely. And then a later model is going to probably give you a retailable trade if there's a trade involved, and you're not selling a 2012 and getting an 08 trade with 200,000 miles on it. So you should be able to, if you're going to the lane and that's all you can get your hands on, and these are cars you can't make any money on, you're going to have to find them somewhere else. And then John Anderson talked about Sydney, Australia. What's going on? Glad to have you. We got somebody from Sydney, Australia on Facebook. John Anderson's talking about, we just talked about it. You lost my sound? Can you hear me? Can anybody else hear me? Anyways, I'm hoping you can hear my sound. So John Anderson, one of our guys here, we were talking on the phone prior to this call, and we were saying that, you know, a lot of dealers are freezing up and not doing anything. Good. All right, Colin, glad you can hear me. All right, so a lot of dealerships are getting cold feet because they don't know what to do. And we're talking, John and I were talking about the fact that I'd rather have somebody being proactive and make mistakes. At least you're doing something to try to drive some revenue to the store. I'd rather you make some mistakes but the difference is your mistakes, you're knowing what you're doing, right? It's not a mistake. You're at the lane, you overpaid for stuff because you needed stuff. You know that's a mistake. Just address it and handle it, right? So it's no different than if you have kids or even your employees. You know, if they make a mistake, all you're doing is ask them to acknowledge it and then try to fix it next time, you know, and do something about it, right? So don't be afraid. I'd rather you go out and buying stuff, and if you make a mistake, acknowledge it and just know what it is and address it. And just like Anderson and I were talking about is, you know, everybody, just in life in general, once you have an issue, you know, the people that continue to struggle push that issue to the side and try to avoid it and try to cover it up. It's the people that know they have an issue and address that issue and fix that issue are the ones that, you know, end up succeeding in life, and they learn from their mistakes. So don't be afraid to pull the trigger on some of these cars, man. So don't be afraid to make some mistakes. All right. Figure out how to acquire, making deals up on either purchases or trades. That's one of the two things. Make up the money on trades, make up the money in F&I. Get those two things tight, because this whole auction battle, this whole auction being tough, is not going away. Even if they start flooding cars into the market, which if one of these big companies have to liquidate will happen, believe me, Carvana, Vroom, AutoNation, all these big dealer groups are going to sit there with their hand propped up against the wall or hitting their buttons on their mouses, click buy, click bid, 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 or put really big proxy bids on these things. Just to throw out a stat too, from what I remember, vAuto, this is 8 years ago. I don't know how much has changed. I'm sure some of it has. Reach out to your rep to see, or if you're Max Digital, find out through your reps and get maybe a raw number on this. But it used to be you would typically close 12% of simulcast auction bids and 7% of proxy bids. And just I wanted to put that in your perspective, because if you need 10 cars, you might need to be bidding on 100 to get them. Those were the old stats. Might be better or worse now, but you know, if you need 100 cars, or I'm sorry, 10 cars, you better have at least 100 to 150 bids going. All right. So if you need 20 cars, that's 300 cars that you know that you want to buy, and what dollar amount you want to buy them for. That's your numbers. So if there's anything different on Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever I post these, if any reps out there, especially auction people, have any other stats on that, throw that in the comments. Let me know. But those were the numbers I know Dale Pollock ran through a while back when I was still with vAuto. So either way, it's a lot of work. Not only to do that, but you better get the F&I and trade process tight. If you want, I put a link up. I'll probably throw some in my comment here. I'll put a comment on here. There we go, in the comments. If you want a wristband, first 30, mind your team. I got 1,000 of them sitting out here. I've already got 150 suggested to go out. Just click on this link in the comments, and at least Facebook comments. I'll put it anywhere else I post this, and request you can go to lotpop.com. You'll see first 30. Click on there and tell me how many you want and where to send them, and we will send you these first 30 wristbands. Got those to go out. If you want a free inventory evaluation, lotpop.com. I hope this was helpful. Talk to you probably next week. All right. See you then.